joining us today on Coastal and Progressive Rainbow Forum on Society Bites Radio. Today we'll be speaking with Chris Gilbert. He is a write-in candidate for Manatee County Commission 5. And we're so thrilled to have you today, Chris. I'm going to give you a little bit of introduction here to people who we've had you on before, but I still want to remind them of what a great background you have. Chris has been a financial planning student and a resident of Brayton, Florida. He's originally from Louisville, Kentucky. Chris graduated from Eckerd College in 1997 with a degree in American Studies with a specialty in environmental history. He's worked in communications for several national corporations such as Tropicana Orange Juice and United Parcel Service. In 2015, Chris was appointed to the Brayton's Tree and Land Preservation Board and served as its chair for 2 years. After resigning from the Brayton's Tree Board, Chris asked the Manatee County Commissioner to discuss several progressive initiatives, such as increased budgetary funding for indigent hospital care, worker training, and COVID-19 related job losses. Chris, welcome here today, and it's so good to have you back with us again.
Thank you very much, Steve. I really appreciate it. And if I ever get Alzheimer's, I'm going to call you because you nailed it. It is just about I'm tending to forget stuff that I've done in the past, so I will depend on you.
You're great, Chris. Listen, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about today. You have a very important race over there, and we have to change the direction of some of the things that happened here in Manatee County. And you've got such a great record of supporting, sensible ideas and sensible things that people in Commission District 5 need. For example, you're the one who pushed for a mask ordinance, and your opponent, who you'll be up against in the election, was leading the charge against wearing face masks in Manatee County when anyone, even halfway believing in science, realizes that face masks are a key component in cutting the spread of the COVID-19 virus. So, with that said, I want to talk a little bit here about. I know you have outlined quite a list of things that you would like to do if you are elected over there, and I will start out here. And first, I just let you outline first a little bit about your history and what got you involved in this race, and then we're going to go and start on some of the items, and we'll discuss those in detail on your platform and why it's so important for District 5 and how you think you can add value to the Commission with some of these ideas and the people need.
Sure. Thank you. The experience of citizens in Manatee County, and I'm sure that this is probably the case everywhere, once you start to get interested in resolving issues at the government level, we get really distracted by what's happening in Washington and at the national level. And even at the local level, people who run debates and such, they really want to know how you stand on these national issues. And in the meantime, lots of opportunity that we had to improve our local environment, our local economy, the state of social progress they're overlooked. And the people who finance campaigns, they are the ones who are determining the policies and procedures and such at the board. And regarding, before I forget, the mask ordinance, yes, we supported that. And at on the 25th this week, Vanessa Ball, regarding the mask ordinance, she demanded to know at what point can we let go of this COVID-19 safety measure. And we probably will never be able to let go of the kind of dedication to public safety that we had there. And she, chair of that meeting, said, "Well, yeah, I'm a little bit confused about that." And Vanessa's response was, "Oh, I'm not surprised," because she appears to have disdain for the mask ordinance and for, by extension, public health and no dedication to protecting people from COVID-19. So it's issues like that regarding worker retraining after COVID. She didn't even want to discuss providing the county using some of its reserves to help people displaced from restaurants find different line of work, because a lot of those restaurants are never coming back, and certainly not at the level they were before.
Exactly.
And citizens, unless you're a campaign financier or you're part of the business community or you're influential, then you do not have a voice, and you can't get issues even before the board. So the only way that I saw that I could help is to run for office. That's how I got started in this.
And that's so important, Chris. You bring up a good point there. You know, we have a system here throughout the country. Often it's people with the big dollars that get the appearances and so forth, not the people who are struggling and the people who are at most at risk. I can cite here, and I'm sure you're aware of this, and to our listeners around the world. Okay, you may not be aware of this, but in Florida, we have faced horrendous unemployment, and not only that, the state system has been a national disgrace. It's been written up all over the country how people cannot collect their unemployment, and the disaster this has caused from both state and federal people who were entitled to the federal employment. I know many people who never got their federal unemployment, much less their state, which the state is pathetic anyway. It's ranks one of the worst in the nation for unemployment. But just like you said, Chris, people who lost their jobs here are the people suffering. And I was just yesterday, and part of the other work that I do is as a volunteer to help some of the people who are in distress at the bank, trying to help them navigate through a special program the bank had set up. The people who were going to lose their cars, then they will have no ability for transportation. You know, and it is really causing a lot of distress. Now people are worried about being thrown out and being evicted from their apartments and so forth. It just goes on, and it's all because we have a structure, and part of the government structure we have doesn't really care about the people. And I think, Chris, one of the values that you bring here, you obviously, and as I'm sure our listeners are going to hear shortly here, your outline of your programs that you want to do, and we want to go through some of these and start in discussion in detail. Why don't we go and start on one of these, and then if you want to bring in other points too, please do. And because I know you have a lot more knowledge in some of these areas than I do. For example, addressing the problems in corruption in government. As a commissioner, you stated you'll be transparent and honest and work to represent the progressive values ethically without personal benefit beyond your salary, of course. I will oppose rather than participate in actions that have eroded trust in government, who enriched a few and stifled real resolutions to our shared problems. And you indicate your candidacy as a response to my exposure to corruption and the dysfunction of local government. And so highlight some of this and tell our listeners a little bit more about this area that you can help out, because, you know, we've all seen it firsthand here, Chris, some of the stuff that's went on in Manatee County.
Sure.
Go ahead.
You're absolutely right, Steve. Yes, just real quick regarding the unemployment that is a result of this COVID crisis. Was just posting about the need for, I think someone had told me that they still hadn't gotten their stimulus check and their unemployment check, and I was highlighting the problems about that. And before Vanessa Ball blocked me on social media, she chimed in on my post and said, well, they just need to get a job. As if
yeah.
As if the jobs are just waiting there and you don't have to go through any kind of process. It's like going to Walmart, you just pick one. And that's the mentality of people who have already made it. And as we know, the numbers of those people are shrinking. But yes, recently, since our last talk on radio, I have been preparing an ethics complaint that the the Florida Commission on Ethics asked me to make regarding my experience on the Tree and Land Preservation Board. And one of the city councilmen of Bradenton called me a couple of weeks ago, and he also encouraged me to file that complaint, and he described just regular and routine corruption on the city board regarding development projects. And it's a very difficult problem because the people who are passing through these corrupt deals, they're in positions of power. And if you want reform and you're on the city commission, then you have to make ethical compromises with, or you have to work with people who are creating problems in order to get progress and to order to help address corruption. So the people in government, if they're reform-minded, they face unique challenges because they have to actually support improper things in order to make progress in other areas. And that is something that I just won't be able to do, because building consensus, it may be a dead political model. And I would replace it with incorporating dissent into the decisions. And a couple of examples of that recently was with the mask ordinance. A little bit or before that, the curfew that Manatee County put forth in April, I think. That
Correct.
violated civil rights, especially of African Americans. So we worked to get that removed. But it's progress is going to demand that we incorporate dissent, because people are so divided right now that a mask ordinance, for example, needed to acknowledge civil rights in order to move forward. So
Exactly.
It's just a real challenging time.
It is, and you know, there's so much science, and I'm sure you know most of this, Chris, behind that the actually, and this is what they don't want to talk about. The mask, wearing the mask in Florida is what they believe now is contributing to the following number, the numbers that are falling. You know, and even though they're countering this with trying to close down testing, because they think if they don't do tests, they can't get, they won't see how bad the situation is. It boggles the mind how anyone can support people in our state and national politics and even in local politics here who don't believe in science and don't want to move forward with this common sense solutions that should be common sense solutions. I was amazed to read headlines this morning that Manatee has revised their mask ordinance to remove it from places of worship. And so I guess we should all be very careful if we go around any places of worship now, and we'll see spikes in cases in those areas. Just like I think I just also read in the news that the Sturgis rally they had in South Dakota, they have confirmed over 100 cases now directly linked to that rally. And they believe they may have the first deaths confirmed with it now, too. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
You're right. And it was the board caved in to political pressure and the threat of a lawsuit from a church in order to do that. The Constitution, the founders were not all that religious. Many of them were deists, and they wanted religion to be influential in government,